Well, hello YouTubers, and welcome back to the Whole Special channel. And today's episode, parting is so hard to do. As luck would have it, the parting tool that I've been using here on the lathe in the shop has finally bought the farm. It was, for this machine, far too undersized. Yes, you can go undersized on tooling as well as oversized. And this little Komet parting tool that I used to have here, it was always kind of grabby. I don't know if there was some problems with the carriage, with the compound. I tightened up the gibs in the compound. I tightened up the gibs in the carriage and in the cross slide. Didn't seem to help. One fine day I was cutting away and trying to part off a piece of pipe, and it just grabbed, pulled the chunk, the work out of the chuck, and broke off the parting tool. So kind of puts me in a hard spot, and need a parting tool for doing some project work coming up here. So I had to get one. Picked one up in eBay for relatively cheap. And the thing of it is, with these parting tools, there's all kinds of different styles out there. And the one type of style that I haven't seen much for sale, and when they do come up for sale, they're usually far and few between. And that's the ones with the long, straight with the cutting insert that you can turn around the cutting insert and reinsert it on the horizontal. So anyway, the other type is the one that comes down at an angle. The bit kind of goes down in an angle into the tool holder, and I see those in eBay quite a bit. And the cheap, there's the cheap versions like what Greg Halligan 152 or 142. Anyway, in one of his videos, he previewed one of these type of cutters, and or parting tools, and it failed miserably, and it was a brand new parting tool. So rather than go through the agony and ass aches of having to try and gosh and guess and everything else, I kind of weighed the information that's available in the internet, in YouTube, also in the catalogs that I have here at work at my disposal to kind of evaluate these things and see what kind of a tool holder, what kind of a parting tool would work best for this big of a machine. And so I finally come up with the conclusion that this type of I'll bring it in closer. That this type of parting tool for this type of lathe, for as heavy and powerful as it is probably going to be the best. So anyway, we're going to go through the steps of making the holder for the parting tool in this little episode of Parting Is So Hard to Do. So there's some footage that did get lost in the making. I apologize for that. Some of it just didn't get recorded. A lot of it's just basic milling and basic turning on the lathe. The real interesting stuff I definitely made sure that I got that, and that's pertinent to this project, that sets it apart from a lot of the others. So kick back, grab a beer, cup of coffee, whatever your favorite beverage might be, and enjoy the show. So this is the part we're going to be making. Here's a profile view of the thing. Here's our knife, the parting tool right here. Let me run this little thingy out here so we can see this a little better. So here's our parting tool right here, and this is the profile end look, or the profile of the part that we're going to be making, coming out of this piece of tool steel. So we're not going to make it two parts where we got these bolts in here, or these may be just spacers in order to facilitate bringing the parting tool out away from the wall of the holder, be my guess looking at it. But we're going to have to make some hold downs up in here. Some of the other ones I've seen have a cut that goes along in here and use the fastener bolts of the tool holder to actually help clamp down on the parting tool. But I think this is probably going to be a little bit better overall, just for stability and controllability of the pressure. But anyway, again, we have you know, essentially a drawing here. Up here it shows, let's see if I, oops, got to get that in view here. Up here we can see the profile of a parting tool, and since these usually have on the tops and bottoms a bevel, shows you here 150-degree bevel, to where those things actually form like a roof or something, for lack of a better term. And so we're going to have to make our groove here a little beveled, and so that's going to be 75, so there's going to be about 15 degrees of bevel here. I've got a cutter for that, so that dovetail part of it won't be too terribly difficult. And I'm not going to copy this to a T. The tool holder I have is 20 millimeters deep and 25 millimeters tall in the groove, and that's what we're going to make our holder part here, or the part that goes into the tool holder. That's the dimensions we're going to take on. So. Take a clean parallel, find the edge, because we're going to go in 5 millimeters from this edge, so we're going to use the parallel to find the edge, and we'll bring it in. And once we feel resistance on the parallel, okay, I've got it touching the parallel now. Let me bring the camera around and get a different angle on it. So when I hold that there, and okay, I got the parallel dragging just ever so slightly on the cutter. And we can see a little bit of a tool mark there. So we're essentially parallel. We're probably a little over the edge by maybe a few hundredths of a millimeter, but that's going to be fine for what we're doing here. The hundredths really aren't that critical. Now we're just going to go in 5 millimeters from the edge. First we've got to set our 0 down here on the dial. Okay, there's our dial. Set at 0, and then 5 millimeters. We're going to go 6 actually, because we're going to have to take a little more off as we make a dovetail. So let's go ahead and go in to 6. Ta-da! So here's the concept behind these guys. As you put these pressure pawls, or whatever you want to call them, in here, they've got a tapered point to where they can fit in the bottom of the drilled hole a little better. And then they, of course, stick out beyond here. They're going to have to be notched still with the dovetail. And I let them stick out a little bit because if they were cut flush, you'd never be able to orient them right way in the slot down here once the dovetail's cut. So then you can turn the guy in here, just loosen him up, turn it, and then set it on the thing, on the parting tool, and you'll be able to line it up, the dovetail, and voila, away you go. And of course, recess the screw head so that they're not sticking out for things to catch on. This is kind of annoying here, but it's just one of those things we're just going to have to kind of live with. Now it's time to stick a screw in here and cut the dovetail, and this thing is done. Okay, now we got our dovetail cutter in here. This is a 45. We need a 15 degree off of vertical, so that's be about 75 degrees on the thingamabobber here, on the Doomaflatchy. And so we're going to nod the head 30 degrees, because 45 from 75 is 30 degrees. So we need to tilt this head in 30 degrees, and right now the scale's set right on 0, so we're just going to use a scale that'll be accurate enough for what we're doing here. That head out of the way here. So let's measure this really quick and see if, okay, we're right at horizontal here, or vertical on the thingamabob, so that is not accurate. Almost had a Mr. Bozo moment here. So we're going to go back up 15 degrees. For some reason, this scale be off. Let's see where we're at here. That looks a little closer. Let's go to 15 on here, just for shits and giggles. go. That's what we're needing right there. So let's okay, I dropped the bit down to the work and then picked it up just ever so slightly so that it doesn't impact on the work. And now we're just going to ease on in until we make contact. I'm going to raise up the table here just ever so slightly. You can see weight underneath here. Not too much at all. There we go. About right. Okay, I'm going to turn on the coolant right here. Okay, now we turn it around, and now it's time to do the hold downs and the first pass on the inside of the top of the dovetail. Well, let's do our pre-assembly here. Now we stuck the blade in a couple times to make sure it fits. And what you want a little bit of loose, but not so loose that it'll pop out. Now this is one of those things where it just by chance popped out. Okay, normally it can't pop out, so now we're going to put the fasteners in. These were worked a little bit by hand so that they go in. And so now we can screw these in. And like I said before, these are a little longer so that you can turn them in the hole and get them to rest down correctly on the dovetail. It would have been nicer if I'd wouldn't have laid the damn things in the grinding dirt. That was swift. Still got a little bit of Wiener Schleider. There we go. So now And there we go. Tight as tight can be. So now we can go give them a spin on the lathe and see how it works. Okay, now it's time to give her a test spin. Well, I'd say that biatch works. Got a fairly nice finish here on the front. So I would color this job a success. Well, YouTubers, parting is so very hard to do, and if you don't have the right tools, it makes it even harder. Now, this particular style of parting tool, I've been looking, like I said, in eBay quite a long time at the various types of parting tools that are on the market. And this type right here, with this type of little blade, let me bring that in real close. With this type of blade here, with this bit, they don't come up on the market very often, and when they do, they're usually pretty expensive. And so that's the reason I chose to get this type instead of the other type where you have the bit down at an angle. The ones I've been seeing in eBay were pretty mangled up. I've seen also some other reviews from like Halligan 152, I think is his number, and that Greg, and then a few other YouTubers where they've had trouble with these type of parting tools. And the cheapos are on the market. They're all over the place. And again, they're not very affordable, shall we say. Now, I lucked out. This is an Iscar made in Israel, and I got into it with several of the bits for about 50 bucks. So I can't complain on that too bad. I've got a box of 10, another box of 10, and another 3. So there's 13 bits that came with it. Had to make a wrench to, this isn't quite finished yet. The Ickham putty isn't quite set up yet, so these drill bits are going to get cut off yet. That's to roll the jaw back a little bit on the tool and insert the cutting bit. Again, made these here so you can turn these doohickeys, the hole downs, in the hole without, you can't manipulate them otherwise. You're just kind of hem-hawing, bagoshing, and trying to get them in there. And this way you can stick them in there. You can push down on them. Positive lock, bang, they're there. Not real elegant, but it does work. And the bolts are flush with the heads up here. So, again, this is a piece of tool steel. I'll have to look at home when I get home and do the editing, the post production. I'll put it in down below here and tell you guys what kind of tool steel it is. But anyway, there's the parting tool all done up, and the holder. It was a lot of fun, and hope you guys enjoyed watching it too. So with that, we'll see you again here next time. And by all means, if there's a thought, comment, question, suggestion, put it in the comment section below. Always love to hear from the viewers. And again, thanks to a big thank you and shout out to the new subscribers, and of course to those of you who keep coming back for more and more. Always love to see people coming back for more of the stuff that we're trying to do here. Anyway, hope you enjoyed today's show, and we'll see you again soon.